This is someone's idea of a practical joke, right?
Captain, what should we do?
Arm everything for deployment. Initiate launch sequence. Open the pod bay doors. Justice shall serve.
need more deep background, but we're up against it. Non-forces have fortified this beachhead at X-16Y42. Intelligence is still coming in, so we can't tell you a lot.
Hey, what's up? How you doing? How you doing, Innovation Edge? Yeah, kind of one of those days. It's Sunday. Looking at code and shit. It's been a long time. And I never actually really did anything, so... Kinda want to just learn by doing, you know. Found this, like, game, and I got the dev environment set up. I still don't know how to debug with the Love 2D or not 2D. I don't really know how to debug code in general, but I got it set up so I can have a debug console now, but I don't have any debug functions yet. I have to go in and learn how to debug it. Let me set up my microphone. Yeah, I have like 100-foot audio like mic cable, but I can't find literally 100 feet. And I can't find it whenever I like disconnect it. Yeah, this is an interesting game. It's repo hasn't been updated in 4 years. I forked it. It's by A327X. Interesting looking game. I got the programming environment set up and my notepad project set up. And I can execute it, I can run it. Basically, I want to work on the passive tree for now. Because passive tree seems very rudimentary, and it doesn't seem very useful. It's also glitching out. That's not a huge deal. It's not game breaking. I think more importantly, it seems like this person who designed the game really wanted to do a Path of Exile style skill tree. It's basically a Vampire Survivors type game. You can only have 80 nodes at a time. Maybe that can upgrade through gameplay, but the thing is, there's no way to... Well, first of all, you have to use... it's just really... You can't cancel stuff. The thing is, you can't do a quick reset. There's no quick reset. Like, maybe there should be like some kind of collectible item that allows you to reset your entire tree or whatever. It looks like you can only have 80 nodes, but you have to take away certain nodes in order to spend more nodes, which is kind of weird. Because isn't the whole point of a skill tree that it's a tree? So I feel like this whole skill tree needs to be revamped. There should also be clearer indicators of like which direction is which. Also, the zoom in and zoom out function is very clunky, but that's a quality of life issue. You're learning about web development? Yeah, web development's cool. You want to learn CSS. And you want to learn whatever backend you want to use. Like, I believe most people use PHP. It scales. Like, for example, with Facebook, they designed they had to revamp the entire engine for PHP just to scale it for like 1 billion users or whatever. Because PHP, you need to know how to use a database, so you need to learn like SQL, or I guess PHP uses Django as like a backend. Yeah, you need to learn database, or you need to learn CSS. So are you going to do web development style, like front end or back end? Because if you do front end, you need to learn like CSS like really well, and how to implement it into HTML5. From what I understand, it's been a long time since I've researched any programming things, and I mean years. I don't think much has changed, honestly. I think once HTML5 came out, everything kind of set. That was a huge revamp, but I think ever since then, everything's kind of just settled. From what I understand, unless there's been some significant changes. There's a lot of different toolkits, like there's a lot of different tool chains or whatever. Like Node.js, like JavaScript is a huge deal because that's more of a that's a user space kind of thing. Or PHP, that's a like a back-end kind of thing. And if you learn HTML5 and CSS, you could do game dev in HTML5. It's just not optimized. But you could prototype stuff in HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Or yeah, Node.js. Like if you want to learn something really good for web development, learn Node.js. That's like pretty much what everybody uses. And you can really prototype a lot of stuff. And even game development. Honestly, just pick a tool and stick with it. Like I'm learning Lua. Lua is it's a scripting language. Scripting language is really good for a lot of internet-based stuff. It doesn't scale too well. Usually it's good for altering code, which is why like a lot of video games that allow mods will use Lua, because it injects itself into existing code. That's what Python and Lua and Perl and JavaScript, those are all script languages, which means they're they're interpreted, they're not compiled, where, you know, it's not as optimized, but it's really quick. It's really good for quick functions from what I understand. Whereas like C++ or Java, those are compiled, which makes them a lot more for like big, giant, like heavy applications, like a web browser or a text editor. You want to use C++ and like whatever API you decide to use. Like for example, let's look. Let me just set up the goddamn microphone. Okay. Okay. So how about we look at GitHub Notepad++, the official repository. So like, what's it built on? It's built on Power Editor. So what is Power Editor GitHub? No? What's it based on? Scintilla? Yeah, it's built on Scintilla. Yeah, so really what programming is it's a bunch of random shit duct taped together. Everything that you know on the internet, in video games, anything, it's a bunch of random shit duct taped together. Oh, you want to do full stack? Yeah, well, I mean, you're going to specialize in something, right? Nobody can do everything. Nobody can do everything. And and I don't know, if somebody wants you to do everything, that's a huge red flag in my opinion. That means that they want you to do more work than you're skilled at. You should be able to understand things so that you can work with other people, but you should specialize in something, right? Ideally. We don't live in an ideal world, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, get really good at one of those things. Like, are you going to do front end or back end? Like, pick which one you're going to be really good at. And then other things, you're going to need to know how to use all of them because they all work together. So you need to not break something so that if you give something to somebody else, they're not going to say fuck you and just, you know, break their chair and be mad at you and not want to work with you ever again. Is my opinion. I keep in mind, I'm not speaking from real world experience. I'm speaking from what I've heard people who have had world experience talk about. I've done a lot of research, and I am attempting to do something that is actual real world stuff, which is a project that is pretty much looks like it's been abandoned, called BYTEPATH, and I just forked the master branch. Branch. Let's do yeah. Okay. And it's a basic, I'll just play it for a bit just to show you what the game is. It's a Vampire Survivors type game. What is going on? I crashed it. I don't know what happened. Oh, probably because I was running the passive tree so much. Yeah, there's also crashing issues. If you try to alter the passive tree in the way I did, it seemed to have broken it. Basically, you just collect, you switch between different items, and I think it resets every time you run out of ammo, so you basically want to just keep collecting ammo if you want to continually upgrade your weapon. The green ones are ammo, red things are like, it's like asteroid, except maybe there should be a different game mode, but basically it's like asteroid, except it's only in a single room. It doesn't like loop back, which that would be interesting. Because it feels like if people who would play this game, it has very huge asteroid vibes. So I almost feel like there should be a way the game should mimic asteroid, right? Like if the vibe is asteroid, then people should have the nostalgia. The game should loop you around like in asteroid. Like if you've ever played asteroid. Asteroid arcade. Asteroids. Yeah, so like it's based on asteroid. But this person's not moving around. What the fuck? What a loser. Doesn't know how to play the game. Just standing still.
Which of course for arcades is not what you
Why
want.
is this person standing still? Yeah, there we go.
Because then your screen gets
Yeah, it should be like asteroids, right? It should have the physics. You should be able to move around and then loop around and have the like slow stop. The way it works right now is it's just constantly moving. And you can slow down, so I guess that's kind of cool. And you can speed up. You can't stop though, which is kind of weird. Because people who play asteroids, they kind of expect that physics. But maybe that's something I shouldn't redesign the whole physics of the game. So no, I don't have any coursework or degrees. I've taken a C++, I've taken a Python course and I passed that one. I've taken Python and I've taken some C++ courses. I've never really done anything to progress my schooling, and honestly, every single person, I've learned more on my own than I've ever learned in a class. However, there's one thing I need to learn, which is something that you can't skip, which is just getting code and then hacking it and just changing it to get things you want. That's literally all it ever is. That's all it ever has been. Like I said, you just get shit and you duct tape it together. I mean, I don't know if here's an interesting rabbit hole. Here's an interesting rabbit hole. Amiga documentary. You should watch the documentary on the history of the Commodore Amiga. Oh, fuck. Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck?
Other people to hack code. I was hired as the manager of operating systems, and the day I got there, actually, the day I was interviewed there, Bob Pariseau said to me, well, if you come here, you can design whatever operating system you want. I said, I'll do a multitasking operating system. So that's why I went to work at Amiga, was the multitasking operating system.
First, when I had my first interview.
Yeah, so they had like nothing except like an idea, and they just made it work. And it innovated what we know as modern computer operating systems. It completely innovated what we understand to be computer operating systems. Everything that we have today is because of what the original Amiga development team did. Everything. Like, you know, obviously, you know, Apple and, you know, Microsoft and Apple, you know, perfected it, and Amiga eventually dropped off, and it just kind of lost the race, but it started the race. Which one was I? Yeah, I don't think this is the one I watched. Yeah, I guess this was it. No, or was it the Rise and Fall? Oh yeah, it was this one. Oh no, I don't think it was it. Oh, first of all, gaming was a huge deal. Chronological history?
And today, the type start beta. Good burst. Or at the time.
Yeah, so basically, like, you don't need to take some kind of tutorial course, whatever. Just hack shit together, and there's a whole bunch of existing code that you don't have to reinvent the wheel nowadays. So you can do even more than what the original people did. You can do even more nowadays. Like I'm doing. This is exactly what I'm trying to do. Well, I'm not trying to do it, I'm doing it. But, you know, this is just day one of my current endeavor. Right now I just want to figure out how to fix the passive tree. So I wanted to show how much points you have left while you're selecting which ones to spend. So because what happens is like if you go to spend it, you see how it says 17 SP? Well, if I select this, it cost 3. It says apply 3 skill points, but it doesn't show how much you have remaining. So you'd have to keep it all in your head. That's ridiculous. You'd have to subtract it manually in your head. If it already has, the thing is it already has a function that keeps track of how many points you're going to spend. So all I have to do is write a function that takes the current ones and then subtract however many skill points you have selected. Like 4, it should say 9, like under, like on skill points remaining. Like there should be some kind of temporary, like what it will be after you apply. Because then otherwise you'd have to like keep track in your head, and that's so cumbersome. It does not create ease of gameplay for the user. So that's something that I need to fix. Absolutely need to fix. See, like right now it says oh. And there's no way, and also it's very annoying if you cancel stuff. You can't undo it. You just click and there's no confirm. That's ridiculous because it doesn't give you back the points. That's insane. Why would anybody do this? Like, what the fuck? Like I can confirm or cancel if I want to spend them. But now I have 0 SP. If I just, first of all, it's glitching out too. But that's not a big deal. If I click, it just immediately cancels it. And there's no confirm or cancel dialogue, which is ridiculous because there's already a function to do that for applying them. How come there's no function for canceling? And how come how come it doesn't give you the points back? So when you cancel them, it should give you the points back. There should be just a complete reset button, and maybe in the future, if you actually want to make it a game function where you have to spend some item to delete nodes, like in Final Fantasy X, there is an item like that like deletes nodes. But then it'll give you back, it should give you back the points. So this is pretty much my first project for this game, is fix the passive tree, because it seems like this game's a Vampire Diaries. This game's a Vampire Survivors type game. It's a Vampire Survivors type game, but it seems like the innovation that this person, a 7X, I don't know how to pronounce that name. It's like A327X, like a 7X? I don't know. A 7X. Yeah, a 7X wanted to, where's the description? A replayable arcade shooter with a focus on build theory crafting. Massive skill tree. So this is the innovation that makes this game separate from, like, you know, a basic kind of asteroids game. It's not just a Danmaku genre. Danmaku's Bullet Hell. It's just a maniac shooter game. First Danmaku game. Batsugun. Yeah, Batsugun. This kind of game where you're dodging bullets, you're moving around. See, the problem is, I feel like this game, first of all, I think it's too cumbersome. I don't want to redesign the core of the game, but once you start moving, it never stops. You can't stop and move around and dodge. You can only move, which is kind of interesting. It's just kind of interesting because it has like a boost. So, you know, I'm not going to redesign the whole core of the game. If I was going to make a new game, I would make it more like Asteroids and like other Danmaku, where you could literally just move around at will, rather than be enslaved by the momentum, which is what it currently is. It's kind of locked in. Like, once you start moving, you can either go faster or you can slow down. And it uses a boost stat. Now, that's kind of cool, but if I was going to make a new game, I would make it more like a traditional Danmaku, and I would also make it like Asteroids, actually, since this... But we're not doing that. We're not redesigning the game. We're trying to fix it. We're trying to fix the problems, which is what most people will do. You most of the time, you never do something from scratch. One day I will do something from scratch, but I think I should get stuff under my belt modifying existing code first, so that when I go do something from scratch, I'll know like a lot of stuff to be like, okay, when I was working with existing code, like when I was working with existing code, for example, I ran into these problems and it was because of XYZ. How do I make something from scratch so that those problems don't come up? And you don't really know that until you've worked with stuff, and so that's kind of what I'm doing. I could take a course and a degree, but honestly, I don't really think it matters much in these days. I feel like the only real thing that matters is if people know who you are, and then you shouldn't have to give your business card to people. Everyone that I know that has had any kind of sustainable employment in like gig type work, like whether it's like with music or whether it's with Like, once people know who you are and they know what you can do, people are going to be knocking down your door to get you to work with them because they know what you can do. And so my goal, instead of trying to do some course where they just teach you some textbook that's going to be outdated in like a month, and then they have, it's always some I don't really want to like nitpick, but there's always some instructor who has some like very specific way of doing things, and they're trying to teach you that instead of actually teaching you what to do as a programmer. They're teaching you some specific toolkit that they know how to use. And you're basically just learning how to do what they do. And that's weird. It's really weird. In my opinion, you should know how to figure out what to do. And I know how to do that. I know how to set stuff up. Like the fact that on my previous stream earlier today, for like an hour and a half, it took me an hour and a half just to get the game to run. Okay, get the game to run. Get the project to run. Because then you can start working on stuff. You can test it out. You just change stuff. You make hypothesis. And then you go around and investigate. Like, I need to kind of understand how this code works. Give yourself little objectives. And then you go and solve them. And that becomes a game in and of itself, I think. It becomes a game of problem solving. I think it's just going to take time. And I can't do too much at once. Like, I've already gone for 2 hours just now and an hour and a half earlier. I think this is enough for today. I think I'm gonna just, I gave myself some objectives. I'm gonna sleep on it, and tomorrow I'm gonna come back and we're gonna work on it some more, and hopefully I can have better insight when I come back with a fresh mind. And I can, basically my job right now is to determine how the function works. And until I know how the function works, I can't change it. So that gives me a quest. And now I can go through and find the answer to that quest, get all the pieces together, and it becomes a game. I need to set myself objectives and then go solve those objectives. Like one at a time, and I might accidentally solve some objectives while I'm trying to solve another one. You never really know. I might find objectives as I'm going that I never would have thought of if I just sat here at the to-do list and just only worked on the to-do list, because a lot of the stuff you're only going to come up with while you're looking through the code and hacking it. That's why they call it hackers. What hackers do is exactly this. You go through the code, you change things, and you see what breaks it, and then you fix it. It uses an engine, so that means that I have a lot of documentation available. So Love2D Wiki, it uses Love2D as the base engine. And if I understand this, I understand all projects that utilize the API. So basically, there's just like, it has an audio. Basically what programming is you basically just, you have a base core language like Lua, and then you just write your own little functions as an engine kind of thing. It kind of makes a template. It's just templates. That's all it is. It uses the core language, but it's like a, it's almost like, it's like a copy paste. Like, instead of having to build it from scratch every time, it just uses an engine that's built specifically to use these functions. Louvre? I think it's Louvre, not love. Louvre. 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 It's a printable version. Oh, there's some snippets here. Collision checking function. Yeah, so it's basically just pre-written code is really all it is. And it's strung together. Now, I might need to completely... I don't want to... See, this game uses an outdated version of Love. Because if I try to run it with the current version, the release, it was made for version 0.10.2, but the current version is 11.5. And so I might just want to update the game to utilize the newer version of Love first before I do anything else, because maybe that might be better. But I think since the game was specifically designed for this version, I just might want to stick with the 0.10 version. I don't want to break the game. It might be too difficult. I see, that's another task. Migrate to 11.5. Yeah, because this is 0.10.2. Oh shit, this was 0.10.2. Or did they just change the naming conventions? Love 2D chain version history. Yeah, 0.10.2. Super Toast. And then in 2018, they switched to Mysterious Mysteries. So I don't know. Love 2D migrating from Super Toast to Mysterious Mysteries. Yeah, so it might break a lot of stuff. So I mean, the thing is, they're developing 12, so I might actually want to just migrate to version 12. Or would I have to first migrate to 11 and then make a testing version that migrates to 12? So there's a couple different things. I want to prototype in the current one because that's what works. It works already, so So 10.2 Super Toast. Works. So that first. By its current release, consider a new branch for development. 12.0 is currently testing. So consider new branch for that. Yeah, so basically, I want to see if I can get the game updated to work for the new release. And since 12 is the one that's going to be coming out, rolling out soon, or, yeah, it's in development just this year, I might just want to update to this one, because looks like there's a lot of improvements. And if I can update the game to use the current one instead of an earlier development, this was the, at the time, 4 years ago, this was the current, this was the current release. And so I need to make sure what changes need to happen so that the game can function as is. But before I can do that, I need to fix some problems. But the thing is I have to make a choice. Do I fix the problems and then risk having to fix all the problems later? Because what if I have to rewrite every single line of code to get it to work with the current version? And what if that breaks the newer version? I don't actually know. Usually things are designed so that they're kind of more, like, it doesn't just break everything. They kind of, it's kind of like, what's it called? Unless something's deprecated. It added stuff. Oh, it renamed APIs. So that's the only thing. Oh, deprecations. So file system and maths. It uses I just have to change a few things. Oh, what did it remove? Yeah, that's the problem. So I have to see. I think I just have to update the Steamworks API to see if it'll run, because right now it just says I think all the problems stem because it doesn't use this library. So I think that's the big deal. I have to basically sleep on this, but for now I'm just going to work with the current version just to learn. But it is important that I have to decide if it's worth it to update the update the repository to work with 11.5, and if so, how much would have to be changed from that version to work with the new one that's rolling out? Like, should I just go straight to 12 rather than just work with 0.10.2? That's kind of a long-term problem to solve. First, I want to see if I can get to work with the current working version, because it already works. It's already prototyped. So work with the prototype first, and as I go, I can probably say, like, okay, let me work on the release version. Like, let me work on migrating to the current stable release. And then every now and then, as I get, as I learn how to do that, see if this will still work with this, and if I don't have to make any changes to this. Because if I have to make changes to this, then I may as well go straight from this to this, because then that's extra work that I don't need to do. Anyway, just kind of speculating on how this process is going to work. It's going to take time. Let's see how far we can go in 3 months, right? What can we do in 3 months to reach these goals? And can we even reach them before then and then make new goals? So I think for now, migrating the game to the newest version so that I can work with it to make better scalable changes. Anyway, I think this is enough for today. Thanks for stopping by, Innovation Edge. Glad you're here for the journey. Yeah, so where you live, the companies reject the person if they do front end. Yeah, so you want to do back end. Everybody wants back end. You know, they want to tap it from the back. Okay. Yeah, so you want to do back end, obviously. Especially if your area, if that's where all the work is, then do back end. Honestly, I feel like if you can do back end, you will be invaluable to anybody because most people learn front end. Like most people, because that's what people can see, and that's what's appealing to most beginners. And the problem is that if people are looking for people who are most likely going to be beginners, they're probably going to get beginners. And if you understand how backend works, it's probably a good idea. I mean, it's probably very likely that you could also do front end, because at least learn it or find somebody to do it. Like, you know, I don't know, it depends. Like, you know, it depends on who you're working with, probably. Like, if I were to hire somebody to do back end, I would rather delegate the front end stuff to somebody that person would decide to work with rather than who I would. So I would find a lead back end developer and say, okay, I don't want anything in the front end to break what you're doing in the back end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you carte blanche on who to hire. Obviously, I'd have to like approve the person or whatever. But if I was going to hire someone to do back end, I would let that person find who to hire for front end, rather than me, because I'd be stupid. If I'm hiring someone to do back end, then that person would know better who to work with, because that person knows their skill sets. They know what they need. I don't. Otherwise, I wouldn't be hiring the back end person to begin with, right? I fit this job like a glove. Okay, anyway, bye-bye.